How you doing this week? I want to take a step back a little bit, and instead of getting right into the tactics stuff and the gun handling, which we'll be doing quite a bit once we can get outside and start getting to the range. I want to get back to one of my basic things I teach in my classes. The first thing I tell my students is when I'm teaching them is to stay out of jail. That's my main goal, is to keep people out of jail when they come through the CCW class and they're really unsure of the laws. What I try to teach is how to prevent them from getting in trouble for what they do to protect themselves. There's four times. I can't quote every state law. I can only quote the law of the state that I'm in. But I can't quote every law in every state. But the one way you can keep yourself safe is by remembering these four times. These four times you can use deadly force or to protect yourself with a firearm. Is you remember, anywhere you're at, anything that happens, you have to be able to articulate that you're in fear for loss of your life, you're in fear for loss of somebody else's life, you're in fear of serious bodily harm, and you're in fear of serious bodily harm to someone else. If you live by those four things, you're going to be okay. You just have to remember that if somebody takes your car, if somebody takes your TV, it's a piece of property. Now, I know there's state laws out there that tell us that we can protect our property like that, but I don't want to be the case law to change that. If they're taking my TV, it's going to end up being a good witness. I'm not going to shoot somebody for taking my TV or my car. Unless they try to take it with force, it's going to hurt myself or somebody else. Other than that, I'm not going to be the case law to change those things. So if you remember those four things, it's going to help you in certain situations of when do I pull my firearm? When would I even think about pulling my firearm on somebody? Is just remember, if you're in fear of your life and fear of somebody else's life, fear of serious bodily harm to yourself or serious bodily harm to someone else, you're going to be okay. I know there's a big thing about, I wasn't afraid. Be afraid. Be afraid. It's okay to be scared. Every time we went to kick a door, and every time I thought about the warrant or the individual we were going in on, I was always the first one through the door. I carried the shield, and most of the times I was a breacher for several years. But when I went through the door, I was afraid. It was controlled fear. I knew how to control it, but it kept my edge. If I went in there with the attitude of, I'm not afraid, that puts myself and my teammates in danger. It's okay to be afraid. Just don't let it take over. Learn to control it. So I've had a few requests. I had one friend of mine just contact me recently, asked if I did any seminars on church house security. I have. I've gone to a few churches. I've talked to a few people about it. I told him I was seriously thinking about putting together a program for that, so I could help out some of the security officers that's put in charge of the security in their church houses. He asked me about a seminar and what can I do to talk to the people there and what would help in his. He's in charge of his church security. He said, what can he do to get things where everybody's on the same page? Well, it doesn't matter what church you go to. It doesn't matter what religion you believe or who or what you believe in. You have to have communication. It just doesn't matter. You have to have communication. If the clergy in your church has a conversation with an individual in the congregation in private, and this individual is very upset, he leaves either making threats or he is just angry because you either denied him help or he's been a problem for quite a while. He or she. You need to communicate this. You need to communicate this to your security people. You need to let them know that this individual may possibly come back angry. I understand there's a I'm not trying to think what word that is, but there's a confidentiality. between clergy and their people. You're not going to go around and tell everybody in the congregation that this individual may be angry or may come back and try something or he's made threats. You're only telling your security officers. And when your security officers know this, then he or she will be able to act on this. And they're not going to go do an investigation. They're not going to go after this individual. What they're going to do is they're going to be prepared. They're going to set up a game plan to protect the people in the congregation. So there has to be communication. The first key to everything is communication. You've got to let these people know. You have to let your security people know what's going on. If you remember, I'm not a clergy. I'm not a scriptorian. I couldn't quote you anything on the scriptures or anything, but I remember Luke 11:21. I do remember that one. When a strong man guards his own house, his possessions are safe. So what you're doing is you're protecting your own house. You're protecting people in there. You're protecting people who want to feel safe. It's ridiculous that we have to do this. It's sad. It truly is sad, but it's a fact of life nowadays that we have to set up security in a church. Now, the one thing I told him that I do feel strongly about is the head of security, whoever it is, he or she, needs to be in front of the congregation. They need to have a seat up in the front. They can observe everything that goes on. They can watch what happens, who walks in, who walks out. They can communicate with their other security officers that may be in there. They may be the only security officer in your congregation. If that's the case, then that person chose as a security officer. They need to understand how to read a room. They need to understand how to read body language, how to watch how people sit, how they're looking, if they're fidgety, what they're wearing, if they're always indexing, if they're reaching to see if their weapon is there, or because a lot of people do this, especially nervous people. They're always reaching to touch to see where their weapon is. They're always like making sure it's still there, that didn't fall out. And so what they do is you've really got to keep a vigilant eye out and watch everybody, watch every movement, everything that happens out there. And so with this being said, how would you set up security in a congregation? Well, you have to know your doors, your entry doors and your exit doors. I would place people around each area that they could just observe, just watch, make sure that nobody's going to come and go. And the officers you do pick for security, they have to be extremely vigilant and be able, like I said, be able to read a room and be able to read body language. But the other thing they need to do is be able to separate themselves from the gossip. Sometimes we get carried away with getting into talking. And if you know something that's happening, you can't talk to the other people in the congregation. You just can't let them know this. It's private between the clergy and that person. And you need to show that respect. Because sometimes somebody just may leave angry and they aren't doing anything. And what you're going to do is ruin their reputation. They were just angry for that moment. And the other thing is visitors. As a security officer, you shouldn't be standing out in the foyer visiting with people. You should be vigilant, always watching, especially if you're put on alert, if you know something may be happening. Now, don't be dressed like a soldier and don't walk around acting like a soldier, but just be observant. Stay out of a lot of conversations, stay out of groups. Be able to step back and observe groups, observe people, observe the doorways, the entrances, the exits, watch people. And if that individual who was a warning comes in, stay extremely vigilant. Just really watch what they do. Don't walk on their hip and follow them, but just pay attention and relay that information to the other officers, the other security personnel that's inside of the congregation, that he has arrived. He or she is there, and just to keep an eye on them. You got to have a game plan. But in the future, I wouldn't mind putting together a program for actual physical setup of a security in a congregation. But for right now, the key thing is communication. That's all I can tell anybody who's getting ready to set up a security for their church or whatever it is. Communication. You got to have communication with your clergy. And clergy, please communicate with your security guys and gals to know that they know that, or so they know what they need to do to set up their security. So beyond that, what we're doing is we've decided to cancel some of our courses for right now. The extension on the shutout or shutdown is has been given 30 days. So we're looking at the end of April. And by the time we get out of this, hopefully people will start to just hang back and let's get this thing taken care of. Let's get this thing cleared out. And the sooner we can do that, the sooner we can get back to work. Now, sometime in May, if you're out in the Idaho area, we are going to do a CCW class for sure. This will be down at Counter Strike in Pocatello, Idaho, at 355 Yellowstone. We may have another one at Gold's Gym in Pocatello. And I'm also going to have a combat course put together that we're going to do towards the end of May. The middle towards the end. Depends on how this thing goes. I would like to have it as soon as possible. This combat course is going to include barricade shooting of all kinds, from prone, kneeling, standing. We're going to have moving and shooting. We're going to go through hallway movement and shooting. We're going to go through doorway entry. We're going to do room clearing as an individual, because you're not going to have a team with you if you come home, or if somebody does break in your house in the middle of the night and you have to get to your children. You're going to be on your own. And so I'm going to teach, where we're going to teach these movements throughout the house by yourself. Eventually we're going to put together a program. Later this summer we're going to put together a program for couples. If both of you are armed, then we're going to teach you how to move through the house together as a team. You're not just going to grab your firearms and take off running, and you and your spouse is going to just go in different directions. We're going to work on it to where you can actually move together as a team. You'll be able to move past doorways, clear rooms a lot easier with just two of you, especially when you're moving to get to your children. If you have children downstairs, or you have family downstairs you're taking care of, if you have your elderly family here, they can't move as easily, and you need to get to them to protect them if somebody has broken your house. And we're going to teach you how to do that. Even in these classes in May, you'll learn how to do that. So you'll be able to move through the house, you'll be able to clear rooms, you'll be able to clear hallways, you'll be able to shoot around corners. We'll do a lot of moving and shooting. We'll do a lot of drills. First, we're going to talk about using. There's going to be a lot of shooting, but because of the run on the ammunition, we're going to drop the shooting down a little bit. There's still going to be it's going to be quality shooting. Quantity isn't where it's at. It's quality. So the more quality shooting we get in, the better it's going to be. So a lot of our drills, we're going to drop some of the rounds down a little bit, but we're going to do a lot of quality shooting. Get you where you're able to shoot in any position that you're put in. Everything from prone to kneeling to standing to moving to clearing doorways. It's not as easy as it sounds, especially when you want to do it proper and you want to make sure you're going to be safe. I reteach a lot of things from the fatal funnel. It's not as fatal as people think it is, and so it's one of the strongest parts of the building. I mean, where do you go with an earthquake? But we'll also teach how to go in that fatal funnel and make sure it's clear before you even go into it. So if you're interested in that course, go down below and subscribe for this. If you disagree with something I say, that's fine. That, like I said, I only learn when people talk to me. If people are just out there just to throw something because they disagree with me, that doesn't do me any good. If you disagree with something I've said, or you have something to add to it, great. Give it to me so I can learn, and I can maybe pass this on to my classes. Because the day you stop learning, the day you stop learning is the day you just need to go sit in a recliner and end it, and just sit there and just relax the rest of your life, because you learn up until the day you die. And you have to be humble enough to sit back and tell yourself, yeah, I've accomplished this, I've gone through this training, and I've done a lot of things. But you have to be humble enough to sit back and say, I don't know everything. And sometimes that young kid, I've had 18 and 19-year-old kids come to my class, and they've mentioned something. I looked at them like, wow, that makes sense. That really makes sense, you know. And I applied to what they said. They told me. I applied it to some of my tactics, and it really changed my thought pattern. Remember what I said earlier? One of the first videos I made was, my teaching is a way. I teach you a way to try and a way to do something. It's not the way. It's just a way. If you like it, put it in your tool bag and use it. If you don't like it, that's okay. But let me know why you don't like it, because then I can either look at it and figure out why you don't like it, or I can figure like, yeah, I agree with you. We need to change that a little bit, and that's okay with me. I'm good for learning. So, if you have any complaints or anything like that about what I've said or what I'm trying to teach, go ahead and pass it on. Mark it down in here. Like I said, go subscribe. We'll be putting these out probably once a week. As soon as we can get outside, we're going to get to the range. Right now, I'm in the garage building some barricades and some walls and doors so we can move it out to our range. I also want some input. Like I said, this class is going to be held in the Pocatello area. The combat course is going to be moved out to the McCammon area. I've got some land out there. A friend of mine has a piece of property out there that he said we can use. It's going to accommodate several people. We're going to try to keep the class down a little bit so we can have more one-on-one training. And if this class works out and we have a lot of people who want to sign up for it, we're going to do a couple of them a month. That way we do a couple of these classes each month throughout the entire summer and part of the fall. We have some competitions going to be coming up that we're working on, and I think people really enjoy that. We also have, hopefully by next summer, we're going to have a 2-day high-intense course. It's going to be physically demanding. It's going to be for advanced shooters. You're going to be there for 2 days. You'll go. I'm not going to house you there. You'll be able to leave and come back. But it'll be next summer. We're looking at putting that one together, and that's going to be a pretty intense course. Hopefully by next summer, things here will be a little calmed down. So that's about all I had to talk about today. Like I said, there's 4 times if you think about using deadly force, is remember those 4 things, and you should stay pretty safe. But I also recommend getting some type of legal counsel, some type of insurance if you're able to get that. It'll give you a peace of mind knowing that you'll have somebody there for you. You'll have an attorney. And the one thing I do teach my students is, what do you say to a police officer when he does show up on scene? I want to cooperate, but I'd like my attorney present. Protect your rights. Always protect your rights. You cooperate by telling them there's another gun over here, there was another gunman who ran outside, he's dressed like this, he looks like this. Once they start asking you what happened, say, I want to cooperate, I just want my attorney present. So remember your rights. Remember the 4 times that you'll be safe if you use deadly force. Always keep your head on a swivel. Like I said, go down below and subscribe if you like what I have to say. If you don't like what I have to say, please come with something that I can use. Tell me how to fix something, or tell me why you don't agree with it, and then I can work on it from there. So stay healthy. You wash your hands, stay clean, and besides washing your hands, please take a shower. Have a good one.